So we are finished with all the cutting. The cutting is finally done. And there is the stack. You can see, you can actually see the ground over here. And now the stack of cut stuff is all done. Come on down here, Gremlin.
Yeah.
So, what knife did you like the best and which knife did you like the worst, Gear Gremlin? Because I had a helper here. And, which knife did you think was the best?
Where did it go? This one's the worst.
Yep. 100% agree.
Terrible.
Terrible.
This one was good.
Yep. Kaiser, nice guy.
This one was my favorite.
Quite good. Oh yeah. Yeah. The Kershaw Bel Air. That thing just plowed through stuff. So biggest positive surprise for me was the blade, the Berg Blades Mini Slim. The kind of boxy pocket clip didn't really make a difference. The 3-finger did make a difference, but not as big a difference as I thought. And the blade is really tall, so it passed through material pretty easily. Really high, full, flat grind gives you lots and lots of runway. Whereas you compare this knife, and you can see that the grind on the Slim Mini is about the same as the entire blade height on the axial shift. This is definitely the biggest surprise, positive surprise. The biggest negative surprise is the one that the Gear Gremlin pointed out. This is the axial shift. Not particularly good. It started bunching almost immediately. It is pretty thin, and it just did not cut well at all. The 3 that I'm going to do the shootout on all cut quite well above the average, which I would probably say is the Savenza. These 3 knives were all pretty good. The Yonder, the QSP, Canary, and the Nice Guy were all quite decent. Let's see. Oh, the CJRB Mini Pyrite also did not too bad. I will note that when you do a lot of cutting, you will quickly realize how much you dislike thumb studs. Because gets caught on something. Gets caught on something. The knives that I expected, this is a knife that I know exactly how it's going to do. You've had a Sabenza. The steel is probably not even going to make a difference. But this is not a knife that I think anybody's going to be surprised about. It did decent. It was fine. Like, if this was my only knife and I was breaking down boxes every day, as long as I didn't have to break down that many boxes, I'd be fine for how it performed. Nothing surprising. Now we're getting into the elite cutter territory. These guys were all probably above, average to below average. I'm going to put them all in order in a second. But in terms of elite cutters, I'm going to have to say that the TRM Neutron and the Kershaw Bel Air were definitely up there. The next knife that I am shocked to see, because its blade stock is so much thicker, but this thing just barreled through blades, barreled through cardboard and styrofoam and all of the other garbage that I threw at it. And then I would probably say, I did probably rank on this a lot more than I ever would in real life, and it is still perfect lockup. The little A.G. Russell Gents Lockback, great. This knife obviously is a great cutter. It's just that this finger choil is not as elegant as the finger choils on these other knives. I probably put them in that order. So let's do this. We're going to go by strictly by performance. So the axial shift is way down at the bottom. I would say Yonder is next, but this is like a big jump, right? This is a huge jump. So this is like unacceptable, and this is like quite good. Here, here, the Sebenza, this, because this blade is so clean, there's nothing to get jammed up on. The Berg blades, and then we've got the Dragonfly, and then we've got the A.G. Russell Gents lockback. Man, this is just such a cool little knife. Ooh, I love that knife. And then we've got the TRM Bulldog, which, quite frankly, other than the size, I would not be able to tell the difference in terms of cutting power between it and the Neutron. And, you know, there's a pretty sizable jump. Like, yeah. So let's take a look. So the axial shift is way down there. Then there's a big jump in performance. Then we go up here. We got a bunch of knives sort of in this middle clump. You know, like the bell curve will go like that. And then we've got the two TRMs and the Kershaw. And if you really pushed it, I think this could probably go up here. It's probably more like that. So there you go. That was the 2025 Cutting Olympics. That is a lot of cutting. It took almost 3 hours to cut everything. Now, I was really systematic and I tried to be clean about it. If I was like just plowing through stuff, it would not have been that long. But that's a lot of cutting, and I'm glad I'm done. You know, you get those knuckles worn out because they're dragging across the cardboard, and you're like, okay, this is ridiculous. So that was the conclusion of the Cutting Olympics. I think I have a really good baseline of use and information to go about making a recommendation for the entry-level shootout that I'm going to do with the Yonder and the QSP and the Nice Guy. But I just think, you know, I'm going to just say this. A couple observations about the whole thing that are interesting. The first thing is, you know, obviously geometry is the most important thing on a knife. The steel doesn't really matter, although all of these had good steel. Like the worst steel in here is probably the AR RPM 9. Everything else is really quite good. The other thing that I would say doesn't really matter is the heat treat. Like it's all geometry, right? Geometry is like, I don't want to say 90%, but it's a lot. It's really high. And so, number one, I like the Dragonfly, but I like the N2 better. I think it's pretty clear now that this is my favorite knife of all time. It's just such a good knife. It does everything you always ask it to do, and it does it well. Another thing that it's sort of a realization is, man, this is so much better than every other bulkier, thicker knife out there. And then the last thing is, I know a lot of people like autos. I like this auto. It's super fun to play with. But I'm just not convinced that it's all that practical. You know, there's a little bit of blade wiggle. There's always been blade wiggle, so it's no big deal. But it just didn't cut all that well. And it's not a great cutter. I'd love to see a full flat grind on the Axial Shift 3.0. That might make a difference. But in terms of the overall Cutting Olympics, the winners are always the thinner, higher ground blades. So see you later.